Today, I'm back with a brand new movie review. Today, I'm going to be reviewing the movie Those Who Wish Me Dead, which is starring Angelina Jolie and is released. It just got released today and is in theaters and also airing on HBO Max for the next 31 days. Let's find out if this movie is worth your time or your money to go see. Now, I've been excited to see this movie because I know that this movie was directed by a guy named Taylor Sheridan. And if you guys haven't watched my channel or my videos before, you'll know that I am a huge fan of Taylor Sheridan's. He has done some of the greatest films to come out over the last 5 years. He was the writer behind Sicario. He was the writer behind the movie Hell or High Water. And he was also the writer and director of the movie Wind River, and is also one of the main writers on the show Yellowstone. So I was really excited to find out that he is one of the four screenwriters on this movie and that he is also the director. He did a great job directing for the most part. It it's interesting. Out of all of the movies I just mentioned, I think this is probably his weakest effort overall. And I don't hate the movie. I'll actually get to my score here at the end. But let's talk about this movie. Um, it as far as his direction goes, I think the first half of the film is overacted. I think all of the actors felt too overconfident, and then they kind of settle in, and the second half of the movie is where his directing really shines. So the second half is much better than the first half. What we have here is we start out with Angelina Jolie, which is nice to see her in a starring role again. She used to be a hot shot. For people who don't know who a hot shot is, they are the basically the first responders to a fire out in the forest or out in the wilderness. They're the ones who have to clear the line, try to stop the fire from moving forward. You find out she has a nightmare of this terrible event that happened in her past, but you never get the full picture. And she wakes up in a panic. And she has now been assigned to be a watch out. She works in a watch out tower in the middle of the forest. So you find out she's a little bit of a daredevil in a kind of an unnecessary scene towards the beginning, and she does a really good job in her role here. She is basically got to be the protector of the boy who's in the film. If you've seen the trailer, she ends up protecting this boy throughout the film. That boy is played by a guy named Finn Little, which I've never seen him in anything before. He plays Connor in the film. He is being chased by some assassins. You find out his father gets killed by these assassins, and there are other people who are also killed by this assassin at the beginning of the movie. And that is where the real fault of this movie lies, is in the way the story is told and finding out exactly what happened and led up to these events. They never really give you a full picture as to what happened. In fact, 45 minutes into the movie, I'm sitting there going, okay, are we going to get a full picture as to what's going on here? And unfortunately, we never do. There's a brief explanation as to what's going on. And there's a scene with Tyler Perry, he's in the movie for a very short time. And his role is there to be that connector, and it just doesn't hit the mark. I think they really missed the mark with telling the story in this movie. It's like we're getting a glimpse of what's happening in this one scenario, but we don't really find out what led up to this point and what's going to happen afterwards. This movie also stars Jon Bernthal, who actually played Punisher in the Netflix series. He is married to a woman in the film. Her name is Medina Senghore. She plays his wife, Allison. She's actually the best person in this entire film. She actually is pregnant with Jon Bernthal's baby, and that's going to lead to a big problem that I had with the film. I'm going to talk about that at the end. So after I give you my score, I'm going to talk about something, a big aspect of this that I didn't like, something that Hollywood is very guilty of, and it kind of takes away from the story a little bit, and I'll talk about that after. So once I give my score and I get to the end of the review, those who don't want any spoilers of the movie, you guys can take off. And those who are more interested in a little bit of a bigger explanation, you can stick around and watch that. But she does a great job in the film. She has some of the best acting and action scenes in the whole movie. And I'm not going to give too much away about the story. Just know that this boy is being chased, and you're going to find out that he does have a relationship. He is related basically to Jon Bernthal's character, Ethan, in the film, and you'll find out how that is if you see the movie. What I like about Taylor Sheridan is he's an old school type director where he'll keep a shot and keep it steady. He's not part of that shaky camera group. And that there's a lot of that in this movie. Like, you're never going to be confused as to what's happening. You're going to know exactly what's going on. on screen, and that's refreshing compared to a lot of the movies today. Like I said, in the second half is where his directing ability really shows. The second half is a lot more grounded than the first half. There are a couple of lightning scenes in this film that I thought were both of them were I thought completely unnecessary and didn't really need to be in the movie. I thought they kind of just distracted from the all overall drive of the film and really didn't add anything. Along with that one sequence at the beginning where Angelina Jolie shows she's a little bit of a daredevil. I thought all three of these little scenes just really didn't need to be in the movie. Now, the movie's only an hour and a half, so those don't add a whole lot to the film and could have brought the film down to about an hour and a half, and I don't think you'd be missing anything. In fact, I wish this movie would have been longer so they could give you a much bigger picture as to what's going on in the movie. A lot of the movie was CGI'd, and you can start. I mean, we're able to pick these things out now in the audience. It's not as seamless as I think Hollywood thinks it is, and I really wish that we would have more natural shots in these movies. They look too clean, too computerized, and this movie is no different from that. Although they are really getting good at showing fire, but it's still not 100% perfect. You're going to believe every scene that all these characters are in the film. You're going to definitely be engaged and want to watch. But at the end of the day, my biggest problem with the film is the fact that we never really find out 100% as to what's going on. Tyler Perry is in the movie for a few minutes to try and be that connector for the story, and it misses the mark. We still don't 100% know what led up to these events and what is going to happen in the future, which I guess really isn't the point. But, if you're going to do a backstory to a movie, it's really important that we understand that backstory so we care for the characters. For instance, Angelina Jolie's experience in the past with her hotshot crew and what happened, you really don't feel for her because they do a very artificial way of showing how this all came about and what she went through, and you never feel for her because it's just a little bit of a, "Hey, this happened, and now we want you to feel sorry for her." Well, it doesn't work. Without really fleshing it out, you don't feel for her, and I didn't feel for her character at all during the film because we don't really get to experience what she experienced in the past. They show the event that happened to her 3 different times, but they basically show you the same thing each of those times, and it doesn't really further the story in any way. So, all right, so let's talk about my score at the end of the day. At the end of the day, I give this movie 3.5 out of 5 stars. I walked away feeling like this was the appetizer to a much bigger story, but we never got the bigger story. I enjoyed it. I was never bored. I think you'll be engaged if you go see it. So what I tell people is if you've seen the trailer and you're interested in going to see this film, go see it. If you like the cast, go see it. You will absolutely be entertained. But it's by no means an going to be an Oscar contender. It's not a perfect film by any means, but it is totally worth going to see. I think there are some wonderful visuals in the film in certain scenes, and you're going to enjoy it. So let me go. Now I'm going to talk about that spoiler. But before I get to that, if you like the video, please hit the like button, subscribe, hit that notification bell. I will be having a lot more movie reviews coming up over this summer. I'm excited to see a lot of the movies coming out. I think next week we have A Quiet Place 2. There's a lot happening. So please stay subscribed, and you will be notified as I have new videos go up. All right, so let's talk about my one big, massive beef with this film. It's with Medina, Senghore's character. She plays John Bernthal's wife in the film. She is pregnant in the movie. They are going to have a child. We are to believe that she is in some mortal danger in the movie. But here's the thing. Hollywood does not kill people who are pregnant. They never have. They haven't gotten to that point yet. I think they know that that is taboo. I don't know if they'll ever breach that whole thing. But because of that, she's safe. And she had some of the best scenes in the whole movie, some of the most intense scenes. But I think it takes away the fact that she was pregnant because we know she's not going to be killed. And I really thought that pulled away from the impact of some of those scenes. They're not going to kill a pregnant movie in a feature film like this. So I would have rather her not be pregnant. And I understand that her being pregnant, again, this goes back to what I said about Angelina Jolie's character having her past come in an artificial glimpse. This is an artificial way of making you want to feel for the character. I think her just being married to the sheriff in this town is good enough. They love each other, and I think that should be enough to drive those scenes. But they say, oh, Hollywood's got that mentality of, we're going to make this person pregnant so that people are shocked a little bit more when she's put in mortal danger. Doesn't work. They're not going to kill somebody who's pregnant. And that's just a cliche with Hollywood. And I wish that had not been part of the film. So my biggest complaints had to do with the two, lightning scenes, the scene with her being Angelina Jolie's character being a daredevil at the very beginning in a kind of a cheap scene. And then you had Medina Senghore's character be pregnant. I just think these things took away from the film a little bit. By no means do they ruin the film, but they don't add a whole lot to the film. But like I said, if you like these characters or you like the trailers, go see the movie. You'll be satisfied. But these are nowhere near on the level of these other films. I would give Sicario, Hell or High Water, and Wind River. Those are perfect 5-star films. And this one, I give it 3.5. It could have been so much more, because even when you get to the end of the film, like I said, you don't know what actually led up to these events. You never get a clear explanation. It's never fleshed out. So a competent film, but not a main course. All right, if you guys like the video, hit that like button, subscribe, hit the notification bell. You will be notified as I have new videos go up.